breathing down my neck, clock hands scratching at my skin. Same prayer scribbled on the ceiling, ink runs out before I win. I'm tired of pretending I'm fine when I'm choking on the silence inside. God, I'm screaming your name in the dark. Break these walls, tear apart every shade in my heart. I'm reaching out from the ruins I made. Show me a door, just a crack in this cage. God, I'm screaming, can you hear me now? I need a way out, I need a way out. Face down on a cold worn carpet, for almost every failed attempt, every promise that I couldn't keep, every tear I never met. I'm done trying to save my own life. If you're here, pull me out of this night. God, I'm screaming your name in the dark. Break these walls, tear apart every shade in my heart. I'm reaching out from the ruins I made. Show me a door, just a crack in this cage. God, I'm screaming, can you hear me now? I need a way out, I need a way I'm screaming from the inside. Can you hear me through this doubt? If there's mercy in your daylight, won't you come and pull me out? I'm so tired of my own chase, of the echo of my shade. I'm screaming from the inside. Will you break these walls for me? I'm done trying to save my own life. It's still here, pull me out of this night. I'm screaming your name in the dark. Break these walls, tear apart every shade in my heart. I'm reaching out from the ruins I made. Show me a door, just a crack in this cage. God, I'm screaming, can you hear me now? I need a way out, I need a way I needed proof. You gave me pressure. When the noise fades out and it's just my breath, will the fear creeps back, whispering death. You don't raise your voice, you don't accuse, you just remind me what's already true, that I'm still loved on my weakest day, still held when I lose my way. You don't wait for me to be whole, you is perfect.
Amarillo Zoo, and they came
What's poppin', chat?
looking at some security footage recently. It was captured in the middle of the night. It was back in May, and the city of Amarillo wants your help in identifying.
Most Michigan dogman sightings happen in Michigan. This particular cryptid has the ability to cross state lines. Just to the west of northern Michigan is Wisconsin. This area, also densely wooded, has its own local legend that's awfully similar to the Michigan dogman, and it's called the Beast of Bray Road. In the 1990s,
Buddy, it's literally the same thing.
A humanoid werewolf stalking a road outside of town. It's described as being between 6 and 7 feet tall, covered in dark fur with a head resembling a wolf or a bear, and it's been seen moving on 2 legs and on 4. The creature was covered in newspapers, in documentaries, even TV shows. There were so many reports about the beast that local reporter Linda Godfrey was assigned to cover the story. Now, at first, she was skeptical, but later she believed the witnesses were telling the truth. What makes this cryptid different than the Michigan Dogman is its aggression. Doris Gibson was driving along Bray late one night when she felt a thump. Thinking she hit something, she got out to investigate. Then the beast leapt out of the darkness and chased her back to her car. Then it scraped the trunk of her car, leaving deep scratch marks before she drove away. And many of these sightings would have been just part of a hazy legend, if not for Linda Godfrey's reporting. In 2018, this blurry photo was taken by Danny Morgan just outside Elkhorn, Wisconsin. He said he saw the creature not once, but twice in a month. Morgan said it was over 7 feet tall, brown, and hairy. It walked out toward the road, picked something up, and then went back into the woods. Now, I don't know if the creature in this picture is 7 feet tall. It's blurry and hard to tell. But whatever it is, I'd be terrified if I saw that thing walking along the side of the road at night. In July of 2020, there were 2 other sightings of the creature about 9 miles east of Elkhorn. Again, the same description. At least 7 feet tall, walking on hind legs, covered in dark fur. And the sightings go on and on, some from very reliable sources.
When I first heard about it, I probably laughed. I think I did laugh, because it just seemed crazy to me that anybody would think that. But then when you go and talk to people and you meet them, and they still seem genuinely frightened, they don't want to see it again, you know, you just can't help but believe somebody like that. I've interviewed people with 2 PhDs, middle-aged women who work in a factory on 3rd shift at night, very elderly people, farmers, somebody from the Milwaukee airport with a very high clearance. It's just men, women, you name it. There's no one sort of person.
Linda Godfrey started out as a skeptic, but ended up publishing a few books about dogmen, werewolves, and the Beast of Bray Road. One of them is ominously titled, I Know What I Saw. The most compelling and frightening piece of evidence comes from the Gable film. The Gable film was discovered in 2007 in a box of junk that was sold at a yard sale. It looks like it's shot on 8mm film sometime in the 70s. It's the typical home movie, kids playing in the snow, dad chopping wood, fixing his car. Then the film takes an ominous turn. There are shots of the photographer scanning the woods for something, though it's difficult to see. There are shots of the dog who seems excited by something and appears to have caught a scent. Then we're back in the woods. The photographer's scanning the trees again and then stops on this. It seems to be an animal on all 4s, but I can't tell what kind of animal. Then it starts walking. Then it starts running. The photographer takes off and then seems to fall down. One of the last frames captured by the Gable film is a mouthful of teeth and then darkness.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was proven to be fake.
7 to 10 seconds before it had turned its head.
That thing, that was no dog. That was too big to be a dog. That thing was bigger than me.
That thing was stalking cornfields, jumping on cars, and feasting on roadkill. For 2 years, people in Elkhorn, Wisconsin whispered about a king-sized creature who roamed Bray Road.
A piece of footage surfaced online that has the cryptid community divided. Trail camera footage from Missouri shows what appears to be a wolf pup climbing a tree in broad daylight. But something about the creature looks fundamentally wrong. The way it moves, the way it grips the bark, the proportions of its body, none of it adds up to any known animal. If this footage is genuine, it might be the first clear documentation of a juvenile dogman captured on camera. Your perspective matters because this is one of those cases where the community needs to weigh in. The implications of this being real are staggering, and the questions it raises are ones we all need to consider. The footage first appeared on several cryptid forums and social media groups within days of each other. Multiple accounts posted it, some claiming to have received it from a friend in Missouri, others saying they found it on an obscure hunting forum. The original source remains unclear. The forest appears to be typical Missouri woodland with pine trees and dense understory vegetation creating a green backdrop. The creature itself defies easy classification. At first glance, it resembles a wolf pup or perhaps a large dog. The head has that distinctly canine shape with a pronounced snout and pointed ears. The fur appears dark gray to black, thick and somewhat shaggy. But the similarities to known canines end there, replaced by details that become more disturbing the longer you examine them. The most immediately obvious anomaly is the fact that this creature is in a tree at all. Wolves do not climb trees. Dogs do not climb trees beyond perhaps scrambling onto low branches in pursuit of prey.
So this frickin' thing, it's staring at me. It followed me home from the gifting rock. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning right now. I think I don't know what to do. But it followed me home and it is absolutely staring at me right now. Oh. All right.
In correlation to that, Dogman is another big cryptid that walks around. Does that also have negative interactions with canines as well?
Yeah, so here's the thing with Dogman. You know, there's a website called North American Dogman Project everyone should check out. And then you gotta look up Catherine Cross. Catherine Cross on her tombstone says killed by human wolves. But when you travel to this town, these people, they'll chase you out of the town because when it comes to Dogman, you have groups that use sequestered knowledge, like esoteric information, what we would call witchcraft, but it's just esoteric information. They can transform themselves into a wolf-like being. But if you look all throughout history, on every continent, they talk about tribes of people who had dog faces. Christopher Columbus, his brother, in his earlier text, he spoke about encountering a tribe of people with dog faces here on the American mainland. So if all of these stories are showing up all across the world, every continent, last year there were 44,000 Dogman reports. You know, 44,000 people making this up. I doubt it.
Is there something evil about cryptids, or is this just
the
sort
lore?
of how people feel? You know, like how should we think of cryptids in terms of
should
like
we be
their
scared?
goodness or their
Should we be
evilness?
scared, Lori?
Yeah.
Or does it depend?
Should you? Wouldn't even come into play because you would be.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do understand what you're asking.
Yeah.
Some of them are docile, I guess is the word I would use. But there have been many people that have had experiences where they would say a prayer and this thing would just leave.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's almost like like the devil's work kind of thing. Like they're
right, but then there are others where people have actually claimed to form relationships with them.
Does Australia have a dogman? Take a listen to this gentleman's video. A little bit of a backstory. He is from Australia. Keep in mind, he's not out in the middle of nowhere where, there's true wildlife. He's in a suburban area. He's hearing these sinister growls, and they had been happening over the course of several days. He goes out to records and captures these growls. Instantly, I thought a big cat, a lion or a tiger. But you have to think of the area. Australia does not have big cats such as lions, tigers, even cougars, mountain lions. They do have a smaller form of a panther, but not the big cats. Also, he follows up with a little bit of an investigation, and he shows a tree bark where something...
Scribe makes step-by-step guides for any process with AI. You know what's terrifying at work? When you start a new job and there's no...
Scratch it up.
There's that noise again. Quick, let's go see what it is.
Oh, I forgot the weapon. It's fine. Forget. Yeah.
Time from one of my cases in Georgia. This is a father's dilemma with a clan of dogmen, and 3 of them. So, what caused the dogman to come in was his marital problems. He was having some difficulties with his wife. Arguments started to happen. They had kids. But, the way that he was coping with the discussions and the disagreements and the fights was he would go fishing in the evenings. He'd come home from work, and the first thing he would do is grab his fishing poles and he'd go out to fish. Just to not be in the house, just to not to argue and scream and whatnot. And then that was even more of a little problem, because then he'd come home smelling like fish, and his wife would even get even more mad because he smelled like fish. He even got to the point where he would clean the fish in the kitchen just to irk his wife even more. Through time of bringing the fish, he realized that irking his wife even more wasn't very good, especially because he has kids. So he began to leave the fish in the back of his pickup truck, and he would clean it there. This led to the dogman becoming bold and wanting to eat the fish. His mind, the fish is what caused the dogman to come towards the property. The reality, what caused the dogman to come to the property was the fights and the arguments and the whole divorce and that situation. It just happens that the fish that he was providing by accident during that moment in time was giving them, I'll use the word a reward for being there, apart from, the main reason for them being there. So, as they came bolder, they at one point in time, he went outside, he heard something suspicious. He kind of tried to address what it was. He didn't know what it was at the time. But that escalated to eventually one day he's outside cleaning the fish, and there's a dog man that he saw in front of his truck. That dog man left when it realized that there was a human behind the pickup truck. Later on, he had an argument with his wife. He walks outside to get away from it, and when he walks outside, there's a dog man leaning over his pickup truck, grabbing the fish. He screams at it. He was mad, so he screams at it. The dog man looks at him, growls.
Back behind this bulldog.
Through time, they did separate. They did divorce, and I'm pretty sure that happened before this individual called me. So now he's trying to figure out why are they there, why are they, that they came. So after analyzing everything and obviously understanding, the change in the environment, which was the arguments, the screaming, and the divorce, that being the case, and then the next question is, why are they still there? He did manage to shoot one with a shotgun. He did manage to hit it. He saw the dog man grab his shoulder when he got hit and let out a scream. This was him coming home. It was probably a mile or 2 from his house. The dog man was running the field. And so him being mad because he's thinking that these things is what's causing his marriage to go downhill. He shoots at it. And that was his reasoning for shooting at it at that moment. So, he gets home. Things began to escalate. They began to trying to open the door, trying to break in the house. That was like the final straw. He had enough. And, he wanted to stop this nonsense. Again, this is kind of the moment in time where he calls me. So he breaks
They were trying to break into the house. You know what? If they wanted on the house, they would get in the house.
The arguments, the divorce, and stuff
A door's not gonna stop a dog
fish,
man from getting in.
they were being rewarded for coming to the house, you know. So it's like if you're walking the streets and every day I give you a soda and a sandwich, eventually you're gonna just walk by that house or walk by that person just because you get coached, you get you know, used to getting a soda and a sandwich. So that's what was happening with him. And the fish. Later on, he realized that throughout the years, because this is a span of several years, when he would grill outside, he would cut off the fats of some of the steaks and chickens and whatnot and leave them there. In his mind, he was, you know, because every morning they would be gone. So he would be thinking, you know, raccoons came to eat it or whatever. Same thing with his dog food. He had a dog that the kennel outside had access, like a doggy door, to come inside the house. And he would feed his dog, and he would always know the dog would never finish the food, but in the morning it was gone. Again, he was thinking raccoons, he was thinking, you know, the fats and stuff like that in the beginning. Later on, he did realize through understanding visuals that no, they were the ones that were benefiting from all this food that was being left out, including the fish, because obviously he never stopped fishing. So he wanted to stop them from trying to break in the house pretty much. And I don't want to use that word because breaking inside the house gives the notion that they wanted to do harm to the people inside. And the dog man, for the most part, isn't trying to break into your house because he wants to kill you. Now, if you F around and they want to break in, yeah, sure, okay, that's a different story. But just because a dog man rattles the door does not mean he's trying to get inside to kill you. And there's different reasons for why he's trying to rattle the door. And the main reason is just curiosity. What's at the other side of that door? Especially if you are a family that always keeps the door closed, that curiosity is always going to be there because people come in, people come out, people come in, people come out. What's at the other side? And there's been multiple scenarios where a dogman has managed to come inside, and his reaction to being inside is of a holy crap, a freeze, looking around, where am I, and then bolts back out. So numerous of those scenarios. We can confidently say that he's not trying to break in or trying to come inside because he wants to kill the person inside. So, you know, one of the things that we began to do was to reduce the amount of food outside. Now, some of you might say, well, why don't he just stop feeding? Because if you already programmed, if you already made it a custom to feeding any critter, they're going to want more of it now because they got used to it, right? There's when it comes to us focusing or understanding behaviors, rather be, you know, human behavior, animal behaviors, is what we call predictable and unpredictable behaviors, right? So unpredictable behaviors is when you're used to something and then all of a sudden it's not there. You're going to want it. You're going to get, you know, kids do it all the time. If you give him an ice cream every Tuesday, when it comes Tuesday, he's going to want ice cream. Even though you might not have ice cream for him, he's going to probably, you know, cry, antagonize you because he wants that ice cream. He's used to that ice cream. So we had to begin to slowly take away these rewards from a lot to a little, slowly through time. So then they realized, well, it's less and less and less. I'll find it somewhere else. And sure enough, they began to kind of herd the deer or watch the deer from one of the trees that they had. So in the summertime, they'd be more up the mountain, and you know, in the wintertime, they'd come down towards lowlands. That's where the deer were. And he would be able to see them on trees watching the deer. And different noises that we collected led to this belief. we left off that the dogmen were slowly beginning to fall back as food was less and less available in the house, in the property, versus, both in the grill and with the dog. Now, one thing that the guy always did was also he began to feed the deer. I forgot I mentioned that. He began to feed the deer. So the deer in winter times would come down from the mountains to his area. The dogman began to, I guess, look at that as more of a food source because he was, bringing the deer there. So however that they took that, I don't know. But the dogman did begin to, as I mentioned before, I'm going to use the word herd the deer. They'd go up on a tree and they'd be watching the deer. And he says he would hear noises of them in the woods, and all of a sudden the deer would show up and you have one up on the tree. But the problems weren't done yet, right? So as the food began to be less and less, the household foods, let's say, they did become a little more curious to what was kind of going on. The food wasn't coming out. And he'd already had one or two times where they had come to the door, jiggle the doorknob, but nothing major. This time out, I think he had both of his kids at home. And he heard the door rattle. And, I don't know what was, emotionally what was going on in his life at that moment in time. He tells me that he was very irritated. He was, things had happened with his wife, an argument or whatnot. So he was already mad, irritated, mad. And he remembers he grabbed a shotgun, put a slug in it, and said, "This is it. I'm done with this, BS." Runs to the door and opens the door. Mind you, the dog on the other end, right? He opens the door, he points. The dogman leapt from the porch back, he says, somewhere between 10 and 15 feet backwards. But something happened, right? And I'll explain some of this stuff, my theories, my opinions of my thoughts on this. And again, my research has shown this. So it only, for my research, it only amplifies what I've always told eyewitnesses prior. So as the dogman leapt, the dogman put out his hands, right? And he muttered a word, a saying. I'm going to say the word word. He muttered a word. And the word was, because we know that what he's trying to say, what he was trying to say, in my thoughts, right, in my research, he said it, brother.
So Dogman can talk now.
Basically, brother, but without, imagine a 1-year-old trying to say it, right?
Really?
All the words were pronounced properly, and that word stopped the man from pulling the trigger. He brought the hand down, looked at it looked at him, and it just ran off. Obviously, I got a phone call, right? I think it was the day.
Well, what are these people smoking?
That same night, I don't remember, but I got a message, of what happened. So we began to break things down, right? And he, obviously, because of what you hear in social media and this and that, he was going left field on me. So we began to break things down, and knowing Dogman makes dens at people's property, knowing that if you have a problem with a dogman in your property, chances are the dogman has already lived there for a significant amount of time, and they know your ins and outs, they know your words, they know the phrases you use, and dogman is very smart, right? Dogman can pick up on words and actions. Let's say I'm going to use this as an example just for the sake of the conversation. If you have a dog and you tell him to sit, you got to show him the position multiple times and probably reward that position with the word. so the dog can can understand word means this because I get something bad, right? With Dogman, you can pretty much say it once or do it once, and they kind of figure things out by themselves. That's how smart they are. So we began to analyze words, right? And quickly, I mean, the conversation didn't last probably 10 minutes. Quickly, we realized that his little girl, every time he would see her brother, she gets so happy and so emotional to see her brother.
I just built a budgeting app with Base 44. Nina just built an app.
So we can all build apps now?
And the way she would say brother was in the almost exact way that the Dogman told or said it to the father. Right? Now, it's in my mind, no doubt, it's an association of the girl responds happily, the girl responds joyfully with a word that means whatever it meant. But there's nothing bad when it comes to that word. And the Dogman used that same word as rather a mimic, understanding the outcome or the possible outcome of that word through what he has already seen that has happened in the house, in the yard, with the little girl and her son. And then when he realized that his little daughter has said that word, he realized that yes, that's what he heard. After this happened, I'm going to say that the gap between them two was sealed in a sense of, I will leave you alone and you leave us alone. Nothing bad has ever happened in that property ever again. Does he see the Dogman? Sure. They're going after the deer. He has accepted the fact that they're going to be around. So what he has done is feed the deer, get them all piled up into an area, right? He says, the last time I spoke to him, once in a while, I'm going to say the alpha, the one that's always in charge, or the one that he has the problem with most, will sometimes be in a tree and he'll look at him and they'll look at each other, and he leaves, jumps off the tree and runs away or whatever. But they have that respect of, okay, you're there, I'm here, we're good, peace out. This happened in Georgia several years ago. Once in a while, I'll see him, not see him physically, but on Messenger or whatever. But intense situation, intense things. A lot of things were learned that day. Not that day, but in this encounter. That later on we begin to analyze how smart they are and how they analyze things and how fast they can associate words with actions and stuff like that, which became beneficial for us in the field.
Basically, the Dogman by folklore is a cryptid creature that's pretty much like a werewolf, but I don't think they can transform back into human form. So anyway, my big brother was telling me a story. He lived over not too far from Winnegaw Farm, which if you in Omaha, that's right off the baby interstate. They just started building a lot of new houses over there. It was a whole bunch of fields, blah, blah, blah. One night, my brother was walking the dogs. My brother got 4 dogs, right? And he only was walking them at night because I think he had to work during the day, some like that was going on. But anyway, he was walking the dogs at night, and over there in that neighborhood, they got a couple creeks, like ducked off in the cut, like in the parks, I guess. And he said that the whole time they were walking on this street, it was dead quiet. Like, that eerie silence that makes your hair stand up, like it feels like something's watching you. Anyway, he said the dogs was looking into the pitch blackness too, like over into the creek area, and they weren't saying anything. A dog, if it see anything, it's either gonna try to pull away, it might bark, anything like that. But the dogs was being quiet, and they was kind of like, not going that way, but they were looking that way. My brother said they just keep walking. He said he get all the way to the top of the hill, over like yonder, I guess, right before they got to their block to get home. And he said you just heard a very loud, distinctive howl. And it just wasn't a howl anymore. It was like it went from a ow to a like something like it was changing into a monster pretty much. So with that being said, and upon hearing other stories about people actually encountering this thing in Omaha and other parts of rural Nebraska, it just kind of makes you wonder, like, what's really out there, you know?
That's my backyard. I'm zoom it in a little piece.
Hey, we've seen those.
Clickly is the fastest way to create YouTube thumbnails that actually get clicked. Instead of guessing, Clickly uses AI to do the work for you. Here's how.
Creatures sometimes are so huge that a window would not be an obstacle.
Well, let's go back to Amelia. You watched the documentary today. She got an 8 or 9 foot tall upright lichen wolf staring through the window in the doorway. This thing is big enough to rip that door off. This thing is big enough to lift up the roof and peek in. It can't. There's a separation. There's something stopping this creature from just opening the door, ripping off the door. There's a protection there. And that's what we need to look at.
Right. And that's what makes me kind of lean towards the supernatural side, such as like in Job when the sons of God had to go before God, the Lord, and ask permission to go that direction and to physically, touch or what have you. Because those beings are so huge. There's a house, they could rip the wall off. They could just grab it and tear the wall completely down, rip the roof off, or whatever. So there seems to be something that keeps that from happening, similar to like the black-eyed kid thing.
Well, it's an invitation. And I've investigated things where even unwaringly and unwittingly an invitation was made. And when something shows up and accepts that invitation, it's not a cool thing. But you be careful what you ask for and what you wish for, because something will fulfill what you ask for. Scary. It's all cool to worship. Hey man, Satan's cool, but until he shows up on your doorstep, then it's not so cool anymore, is it? But you made the invitation, so be careful. Be careful. You're out there playing the ghosty ghost. Excuse my French. And something follows you home, and you think it's your dearly departed Uncle Sid. It's not. It's something demonic. Deceiving spirits. I watched one of your videos today. I think we're on the same page. So out there sitting in the graveyard, you're sitting in the graveyard with dead men's bones. There's no spirits there unless they show up, and it's not your dearly departed. Believe me, something you don't want to deal with.
Well, that's one of the reasons I make these videos is I've had my own encounters, and they weren't fun. They were very, very terrifying, and to the point of even having PTSD.
Most of us here have heard our parents or grandparents say, if you show them fear, it'll bite you. Don't show them fear. When it comes to like a dog that's barking at you. And there's some truth to that. Dogs are hyper-vigilant on our human emotions. They live with us, right? So if we're scared, if we're sick, they kind of realize that because our hormones change. They're also hyper-vigilant on our body language, right? That's how they pick things up on us. I can go up to a dog and give a specific body language, and the dog will be like, right? But I can also give another body language, and the dog will be like, hey, buddy. So body language is something that every living creature, it doesn't matter, humans, wolves, rather domestic or wild, body language, right, is the main communication that everything has. So that said, fear translates to something, right? Fear equals unpredictable or unpredictability. Unpredictability means that you're dangerous. Now I have to either do something about it, right, or leave. Okay, and for any individuals that have had experience or training in law enforcement, corrections, military, if you go to the supermarket with your family and you have somebody pacing and being unpredictable, you're going to become hyper vigilant of that person, because in our minds, that person is becoming a threat. I have to make sure that I watch this person, right? So, that said, when you're out in the field, one of the best things to do to lower, your emotions and you lower your fear is talking to yourself or talking to the cryptid at hand, right? We see that a lot with people who are in bear country. Hey, bear, I'm over here, bear. Go away, bear. Talking to the bear. But this makes us, I guess, more aware of ourselves, right? Our emotions can't be in the same atmosphere if we're talking to somebody, or personalizing something, or even talking to ourselves. So this is something I do all the time. I talk to myself. I talk to the cryptid or the creature in front of me. I make light of it, right? Because now,
when I saw the domain was available, I was like, I'm taking it,
Okay,
I'm trademarking it,
buddy.
I'm going with it.
I become more relaxed. Not completely, but I become more relaxed. Now, two things will happen. If you manage to show that, hey, I'm not dangerous, the cryptid might just walk away. But if you don't manage, he might take a step or two forward. You take a step or two backwards. Not fast. What you don't want to show is fear. What you don't want to show is, you want to show yourself to be a neutral individual. You want to show yourself to be a confident individual. Right? So if he steps forward, I'll leave. Right? Again, you're talking to yourself. Does not mean that he understands, but your body language will translate something. Right? And then just walk away. Never give your back to anything in that scenario. Always remember there might be more than one around, right? So you don't want to bump into another one, but slowly walk away while showing the same postures, right? And making sure that you are aware of your surroundings, right? As you walk out. Never run, obviously. They're highly prey driven. So if you run, chase is on. Even if they don't want to kill you, the chase is going to be on, right? Just because you're running. But they like confidence, not cocky confidence. So be neutral, be confident in yourself. Let them know that, hey, listen, I'm not here to bust your chops. I'm not here to harm you. I'm just here on a hike. You're there, right? So, I mean, if you don't want me to go there, that's fine. I'll go this way. And pretty much make sure that you do that in a confident state. Make sure that you are not acting cocky and not acting aggressive. And just walk away, basically. Sometimes, when you are neutral, when you are confident, and you just pause, you guys will probably look at each other and it'll probably just walk away. Because a lot of times when you pause and stare at each other, he becomes stressed and anxious in a way of, what is this guy going to do? Right? This is why sometimes they tend to step forward, or they might give you the smile and slowly walk away. Right? But those are the best tips I can give you. There's a lot of nuances to this, right? Obviously, we have rogues. We have dogmen that have had bad experiences in properties. We have had dogmen that have bad experiences with people, right? So, pray you don't end up with one of those situations, right? But your chances of survival are high if you just follow those steps.
La da dee dee dee, la da do.
see the eyes, Mother. Wiley, Lola.
Alright, chat, that's it for the night. I hope you have a boss night. God bless you.